Hello and welcome to the Climate Countdown. Today we have a pretty interesting segment because guess what? I've been busy. I've got an email response from a senator here, an Australian senator, Senator Larissa Waters. Let's read it. Dear Mitchell, thank you for your email to Senator Waters. My name is Kwame, and I am responding on her behalf. We apologise for the delay in getting back to you, and thank you for your patience. Thank you for taking this time to share your concerns about the dangers of donations to national security and the health of our democracy. We couldn't agree more. For context, I gave them a national security threat that I found. Like previous years, the 2021 and 2022 AEC disclosure data shows that the big parties are still beholden to their big donors. There is no doubt that these donations are influencing policy outcomes. It's why fossil fuel companies get big subsidies and the tick of approval for more coal and gas projects in a climate crisis. It's why reforms to hold the financial sector accountable or to regulate gambling keep stalling. It's why governments continue to spend millions on consultants at the expense of the public service. As you pointed out, disclosed donations are only part of the story. The source of at least 30% of donations to political parties remains unknown. That's just not good enough. Weak donation laws means that voters can't find out the source of millions of dollars of funds to political parties. Voters deserve to know who is pulling the strings of the parties they vote for. Our current laws are full of loopholes to avoid transparency. Donors can contribute hundreds of thousands of dollars as membership fees to party-affiliated business forms and not report that as a donation. Donors can donate to affiliated bodies, who then funnel the money to the party without disclosing where it comes from. Donors can spend thousands of dollars on a dinner with a minister, but it's not a donation if they think they've got the value of the money from the event. Unless we cap election spending, political parties and candidates will keep going cap in hand to big donors to fund their campaign. It's an arms race of a legalized bribery, and it has to stop. Notice that phrase? I'm going to come back to that. The Greens have a long history of fighting to get big money out of politics, and we've got a comprehensive plan to clean up our democracy once and for all. This includes banning political donations from industries that have had too much influence over governments for too long, including fossil fuels, gambling, banking, pharmaceuticals, defense, property development, alcohol and tobacco. Capping all other political donations, no matter who they are from, to $1,000 per year. Making sure that excessive membership fees and cash for access events are reported as donations. Requiring real-time disclosure of all donations over $1,000. Capping election spending. All good. Lots of good stuff there. As part of this plan, late last year, Senator Larissa Waters reintroduced a bill to ban donations from coal and gas corporations and other sectors with a track record of buying influence, and to cap all other political donations at $1,000 per year. The Greens will continue to use our balance of power in the Senate to push federal Labour to cap political donations and to ban them from influential industries, including the fossil fuel sector, gambling, banking, defence and pharmaceuticals. Right now, the Joint Standing Committee on Electoral Matters is reviewing the latest election and is considering these and other reforms. It's a critical opportunity to get big money out of politics once and for all, and the Greens will be working hard to get that outcome. You go get 'em, go get 'em. You've got this. We invite you to sign up to our campaign to clean up dirty donations and to defend democracy by filling out the form on our website here. I'm not an Australian, but I am going to show the website and read it out for the Australians in my audience. Thank you again for your interest in cleaning up democracy. The Greens will keep fighting for reforms and to end the influence of big money and to ensure that politicians work in the public interest, not the interest of their donor mates. Love it. So, we're going to take a little break from the Australian politics to talk about this particular phrase right here. It's an arms race of legalized bribery, and it has to stop. That's Australia. That is coming from Australian senator, right? So think about it. It's not just America, it's Australia too. It's an arms race of legalized bribery, and it has to stop. This phrase right here reveals an awful lot about what's going on in Australia. And guess what?
Our legislators in Washington, D.C. This philosophy, this economic mindset now has its grip on
Not
this
just
country.
Australia.
It has its tentacles in every aspect of our lives. It has its grip on this government. This government is now more than not a system of legalized bribery. And this system will not change itself. The status quo, ladies and gentlemen.
So in the US and in Australia, we're dealing with the same crisis. Legalized bribery. And guess what? Fossil fuel companies, they get to exploit legalized bribery. And they exploit it in a way that they limit action on climate change. And that is devastating. They're doing this around the world. Look at this article from democracynow.org, where it talks about the UN warning of water wars as 2 billion people lack clean water in the present day, with Africa and the Middle East hit the hardest. Now, if we scroll down just a tiny weeny little bit, we get this. Unless action is taken, 60% of the world's population could face water supply issues by 2050. If you need a calculator, that's 27 years. I am 26 years old. My lifetime. And half the world won't have access to water. Oh. That's why we have to fix this. We're not talking about like a small crisis here if we're dealing with half the world's population. When you're disrupting the supply lines on that kind of scale, to where 60% of the world's population has no basic access to sanitation or drinking water, safe drinking water, that's a crisis that will cause wars over water. That's a crisis that will it will create the material conditions for genocide. People have been warning about this for a long time. This is my deviant art. And this is a story I wrote in 2013 about the climate apocalypse. My name is Mitchell Hepburn. The year is 2030, and several months ago, we were faced with a planet-wide apocalypse. When our planet's resources dwindled, their prices rose exponentially as they became a less plentiful supply. Many people were left unable to provide for themselves as a result. Entire countries were left devastated as hundreds of millions rioted in anger and fear. So, where did I get that idea from? Well, guess what? When I was 7, there were also climate scientists talking about wars over water. This has been ignored for 50 years, and we don't have time to fuck around anymore. We have to do something. So I'm going to get back to the Australian Green Party's website about ending dirty donations. Let's talk about that. Let's read it. So, democracy is not for sale. Parliament should serve the people and work in the best interests of all Australians. Yet our weak political donation laws mean that our democracy is for sale to the highest bidder. Money shouldn't be able to buy political influence, access, or policy outcomes. The laws on political donations need to be cleaned up. just like the old polluting industries that exploit them. Every year, the major parties accept millions of dollars in dirty money that influences politicians' judgment when debating crucial issues like global warming and clean energy. It is clear the millions donated from the fossil fuel industry to the major parties has influenced their climate policies and their level of support for coal and gas. Billions of dollars in wasteful government subsidies continue to flow to these polluting, dying industries. Meanwhile, clean industries and the thousands of jobs they can provide remain hamstrung by a lack of support. In order for Australia to transition to a clean economy, we must stop the fossil fuel political donations arms race. The Greens are working with the community to call on other parties to clean up the political process. Exposing fossil fuel donations. The Greens are calling on Labour, the Liberals and the Nationals to clean up their act by not taking dirty money from the big end of town. The public also has the right to know which polluting industries are making the big donations. We're calling for disclosure from political parties before elections so that voters can make up their own mind about what they are really getting when they cast their vote on election day. Fixing donation laws. The Greens' donation reforms bill would clean up the corrupting influence of political donations through a combination of greater transparency measures and bans on donations from industries that have an unsavoury track record in influencing decision makers. The Greens' donations reforms bill would ban political donations from mining, development, tobacco, alcohol, gambling, banking, defence, and pharmaceutical industries. We would also cap all other donations, including from individuals, unions and charities, to no more than $1,000 a year. The Greens' political donations enhancing transparency bill resets the disclosure threshold at $1,000, prevents donation splitting by requiring all donations from a single donor in one financial year to be accumulative, bans donations from foreign interests, bans all anonymous gifts above $50, and tightens up penalties. Get dirty money out of politics. As long as there is big money in politics, politicians will represent the interests of the big businesses and the polluters, not the people who elect them. The Australian people can see through the government's inaction on global warming, and on the other side, there is money from big coal, big mining, and big business. It's time to get money out of Parliament and to clean up politics. We are calling on the major parties to stop taking donations from the big polluters. If they refuse, they should put their donations on the public record and let the people decide whether they want to vote for a party that's being given orders by the coal industry. Tell the majors to clean up their act and to stop taking dirty money from the big end of town. Very good. I like the Greens. So the other interesting thing is they are currently talking about how the Joint Standing Committee right now is on electoral matters reviewing the last election and is considering their reforms. Very good. It's a critical opportunity to get big money out of politics once and for all in Australia, and the Greens will be working hard for that outcome, which is awesome. If the Greens are doing this big, imminent push, you could potentially be writing your elected representative to let them know that you support the Green Party's efforts. Do it. Do it. Now, I'm very happy that I sent this email because maybe I've given them an argument they can use. I mean, thank you for taking the time to share your concerns about the dangers of donations to national security and the health of our democracy. We couldn't agree more. So, because of the nature of what it is, I can't really say, but they agree, and they've got an opportunity right now, so hopefully it goes well. Also, if you thought I just sent the security thing to the Australian senator, you would be mistaken. Did you know Bernie Sanders has a brother called Larry Sanders, who's a UK politician? I sent it to him as well, So maybe Larry Sanders sends it to Bernie, and then we got a movement. And we got the international coordination sort of thing. And while I'm making a segment, register to vote in the Democratic primary if you're in the United States. Vote for Marianne. 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 Can you guess what my position is? Vote for Marianne. Vote for Marianne. Do it. Do it. Just you got to register to vote, though. Be very careful. They're very sneaky. They don't want you to vote in the primary. You have to register to vote. Make sure you register to vote. Get yourself in that primary, and vote for Orb Lady, please.
In every aspect of our lives. It has its grip on this government. This government is now more than not a system of legalized bribery. And this system will not change itself. The status quo, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else will not disrupt itself. That's our job.